Thank you for having me, and as I always try to do when I meet a group like this, let me start off by thanking you for all you do. The work we do is very complex, not in its content always, most of the time in terms of the way we have to engage with multiple people, multiple organizations to get things done. Amazon is a great example of that. I always tell people it takes a village. I just want to thank all of you for everything you do in your community to help your community, and then our, the greater Cleveland area, and then even the region, and then the state thrive. We all have a place in it. We all have an opportunity in it, and we like to think we do our part. At least we endeavor to. But I can tell you from the work we've seen, and Amazon is a great example, the collaboration, the execution was not by my estimation, but by Amazon estimation, really, really well done. And this group had a part of it. I will be touching real briefly on a little bit about Team Neo and the work we do to give you context on Amazon and the work we did together. My colleague Camille Billups is here. Who's going to talk about some of the more specific aspects of the project and the work we did as a way to tee up the discussion with the group of mayors. Okay, good. If we can advance the slide. One of the things that we are really, really proud of is the progress we are making in terms of elevating the visibility, the exposure, the narrative around Team Neo, around Northeast Ohio, and around Ohio itself. I'll get the number wrong, but I think Amazon has 9 facilities in Ohio, I think, throughout Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. That kind of thing is awesome in terms of the power, the message that provides to the rest of the business community globally about the opportunities that are here. And you can see on a page like this that it is hard to read, it's not just about what's going on in Cleveland. It's about Canton. It's about Akron. It's about Youngstown. And it's also a very wide range of publications that are well respected in the business community. So third-party entities who are, in theory, objective are saying we're on the right track. We're very proud of that. We continue to build it. Things like the Amazon opportunity help. If we can go to the next one. What are we trying to do? What is the value we are trying to bring to the system? As we think about economic development, we start from the perspective that while each and everyone in this room and other rooms convening throughout the community have a geographic focus, we try and step back from that and say, what is common amongst all the communities, and how do we leverage various competitive assets or strengths across the community, across each geography, to create something of greater value. One of those areas is industry. If you look at the data would tell you, if you think of Northeast Ohio as one MSA, and you compare that and its critical mass in comparison to other parts, other MSAs in the region or even other parts of the country, Northeast Ohio would be viewed as the 15th largest community, or the 15th largest MSA, if you thought about it that way. If you looked at Youngstown, I think the number is 133. If you look at Akron, it's like 98. If you look at Cleveland, it's 31. I want to be 15. I want to have the might of 15. I want the power, the influence of 15 as we are out there in industry, out in the world, out in the government, trying to find different ways to attract resources to this community, like we did in the case of Amazon. One of those ways we're doing that is leveraging industry. When people decide whether they want to invest here, whether they're already here and invest more, whether they're somewhere else and want to invest in, the number 1, number 2, number 3 reason that they say we want to be here has some sort of industry or strategic orientation to it. Access to R&D, access to customers, access to suppliers. So we have to find ways to leverage the supply chains, the industry supply chains in this community, to help people see that the critical mass that is here in the industries or related industries that they care about. That's why they want to be here. And so those are the kinds of the things we do. It happens that in our community, 6 industries, 6, for those of you who, I don't count very well, 6 industries really drive the economy on a primary, secondary, and tertiary basis. They are biohealth, chemicals, automotive, professional services, so banks and law firms and those kinds of things, the metals industry, and one big catch-all for advanced manufacturing. There are a number of industries that support all of those, like distribution and logistics, but those are the industries where we, in particular, have critical mass and are building capabilities around it. If we can go to the next slide. I happen to love this quote from this group. It's hard to read, but let me just say, Amy Liu, Brookings Institution, for those of you who follow economic development, she is just considered a thought leader, done a lot of work with people around Cleveland. Her quote here is, to get economic development right requires good civics, the work to organize and implement strategies and initiatives. Think proactive, think strategic. Then engage stakeholders and partners. It takes a village. To achieve long-term goals. Data-driven, grounded in facts, grounded in solutions that deal with facts. Economic narrative and sense of urgency. Networked leadership. With high-capacity organizations, we like to think we do our part. Bringing all that together to bring real value that organizations like Amazon, with the kind of experience and expertise and capabilities and expectations they have, is really hard. We are doing that here. That's what we're trying to build. If we can go to the next one. And part of what we're trying to build in our own centers of excellence at Team NEO relate to these 5 areas here. Number 1, our connection with Jobs Ohio. You saw that here. It's more than just incentives. It's about resources. It's about industry capabilities. It's about relationships like Amazon. We weren't the first one in Ohio. Because of the relationships we have built elsewhere in Ohio, that was one of the factors of why they came here. Our work in attraction and expansion, most people know about that. We're clevelandplus.com, that's us. So selling the community, selling the case for why you'd want to be here from a quality of life, quality of work perspective, doing the underlying research and analysis that companies require to support the business case for why they're going to be here, and then innovation clusters. In all those 6 industries and many other industries, there's a lot of enabling technology that is changing what we think are sort of legacy industries, things like additive manufacturing, like the Internet of Things. We have capabilities and people who have expertise who can talk about bits, bytes, gigahertz, gigawatts. They lose me in 3 sentences, but they can have a very detailed conversation about how those technologies can drive or change or disrupt some of the industries that we're in, thereby sustaining the strength and presence of the companies that we have here, or again, attracting those that are here. This, in addition to those capabilities, there are a number of things that we bring to the table that would have been seen, I would guess, by our partners in the work at Amazon. Things like providing advice around sites, site selection, site preparedness. Things like industry connections, workforce. That's an area where you'll hear Ted talk about it, I would guess, and Camille, related to the ongoing work we'll have in the community with Amazon. Building the pieces around projects and organizations who are trying to thrive here. We don't do it all, but as we all know, having the ability to connect in so we leverage the best of what everybody brings to the table in some of these areas so the companies get a great experience. The next one. And then we do it in an integrated system. We did the work when I joined Team NEO 2.5 years ago. We did an analysis of, in Northeast Ohio, 18 counties, how many organizations had the 2 words economic development in their mission. 182, I think, was the number. And those are only the people in the economic development system who articulated it that way. It takes a village. So finding the right way to connect, know what each other's doing, get the best out of the teams, put on a united front. That's very much what we're trying to do. And what was really interesting as we got into it, we found, is if you think about it that way, we have way more resources in this community to do a good job, as we saw on Amazon, than we really know. Nobody has enough resources on their own. When you start piling it together and say, how do we bring it together in the most impactful way, really focused, now we can do something great. And that's what we're trying to depict here. Next one. You can't have a discussion about what you're doing together if you're not thinking about building an accountable organization and having a common definition of success. When we think about success at Team NEO, it's a admittedly more narrower version of others, the way other people think about the economic development system for a lot of reasons, but what we're focused on are these 4 metrics. So, number of projects of a certain type. Within those projects, incremental payroll, incremental CapEx, and incremental jobs. What this shows over the last 3 years, because of the work we've done in the community together, we are an upward trend since 2014. And that is part of the narrative, the positive narrative that we're talking about building. What I'm incredibly proud of as a leader of a team and a group of folks connecting in a system is, in particular, in the jobs goal category, not only did we, in 2017, beat our goal measurably, if you take out the 3,000 jobs from Amazon, we still hit our goal. So that says we're doing the little things often, more often. You guys are part of it. Can we go next? So that's kind of Team NEO. That's how we're focused. That's what, we thank you for the work you're trying to do. One of the great things I get to do as a leader of this organization is work with a lot of great people. I'm clearly biased and protective and an advocate for our team and the broader set of partners we have. But what I also got to receive in the case of Amazon is third-party feedback from a lot of people in the system who worked with our team. And I got to read the stuff that people wrote about Camille, which is incredibly gratifying. And one of those people was the lead person at Amazon who thinks she walks on water. So anyways, let me introduce Camille Billups, who ran the project. She'll take you through the work we did. Camille?
Next slide, please. Hi, once again, Camille Billups, really excited to be here. I wanted to start off by actually thanking both Mayor Smith and Mayor Gail. Without their tremendous leadership, we would not be here. They showed on a consistent basis, not only by the words that they said, but by their actions, that they wanted this project and that they were willing to do what it takes to get here. So thank you guys, I appreciate it. Apologize for the tickle in my throat. I wanted to start off by saying that this is the largest Northeast Ohio project in 15 years. With 3,000 jobs, $82 million in payroll, and $350 million in a combined capital investment. And the interesting thing about the numbers that are up here, this is the company being conservative. This is them committing to not wanting to put all their cards on the table. So we expect, as Amazon continues to grow and do all the amazing things, that this number will actually increase. The opportunity actually first started in February of 2017. We were brought in through, as Bill mentioned, the Jobs Ohio, being the Jobs Ohio network partner. The company contacted them after completing their Columbus project, and as they looked across the country to figure out where they needed to be next, they decided that Northeast Ohio was an interesting market and opportunity to expand in. Interestingly enough, Amazon's developers, though, Seafried, had been working months before to figure out what sites made sense. Both Euclid and Randall had a lot of great attributes. They had great logistics, and they also had a dense population that they thought that they could tap into and partner with. The deal team was assembled March 1st. So that was the first time that both Mayor Gail and Mayor Smith heard about the opportunity. Next slide, please. But as with all large-scale attraction projects and candidly small attraction projects, they all have their challenges. One of the first ones that we encountered were non-disclosure agreements. Amazon takes privacy to a new level. They candidly didn't want the market suddenly changing on them for a land price that may have been worth $1 today, and I'm just giving an example now because of the name brand was going to be worth $100 million. And so they were super sensitive about everyone in the room who knew about the project, not only taking the non-disclosure agreement seriously, but kind of living that. The issue that we ran into, though, is not all government agencies, as you know, can sign NDAs because of the various sunshine laws. But once again, Mayor Smith and Mayor Gail, we were like, you have to sign this. Please help us. They made it happen. We were working with an extremely compressed timeline. The project started, as I said, March 1st. And many of you may or may not know this, June is when Amazon, as they look at projects across the country, decide what they're going to invest capital in for the next year. And so with a June deadlines, we're talking about 3 months from start to finish, the community had to figure out how to make the business case and show not only acquisition of the various parcels of land, but a good financial offer had to be put on the table. They had to show that the building department and everybody else was on board and do it, as I said, written and verbally, to make our project manager comfortable that he could then go back and ask Mr. Bezos to fund this project for a 2018 operation delivery. That is extremely fast, even under regular circumstances. Once again, the community stepped up and committed to getting it done. We were also working with a community that is great at working and growing their own business, but had limited large-scale attraction opportunities. They embraced the various partners, including myself, the Greater Cleveland Partnership, Jobs Ohio, and welcomed us to really help them help themselves, which was awesome. Permitting, planning, abatements, councils, and schools. I'm not going to talk a lot about the permitting and planning. I think that's relatively self-explanatory, but I am going to give a shout out to Mayor Sellers and council, and also the various school districts who were not under NDA, but had to come to the table and just with the project numbers had to agree to changing the abatement so that the company could feel comfortable with the numbers that were going to be given from an incentive perspective. Working, and that's a big deal. They were not under NDA, and they had to get to a level where they were willing essentially to sign on the dotted line and agree to this project. Negotiating site acquisitions, demolition, environmental, transportation challenges. Site negotiation in this case was, as I mentioned, troubling. We had multiple parcels, both on the actual property and adjacent to it, that were under various ownerships, and having to get everyone to the table to agree who may have different timelines or time constraints, or once again feel that their property was worth $100 million. So that was challenging, and we all had to get it done, once again, by June of 2017, so 3-month timeline. The results. A big part of what the company said was different about our community was the fact that we actively showed from the very beginning that we wanted them there. And the amazing thing that I think the mayors committed to was they decided very early on that they would not be the obstacle Amazon had to face. Maybe it was funding, maybe it was financing, maybe it was the right capital partner, but this group was not going to be the hindrance to this project not closing. There was never going to be that excuse. They were going to do everything in their power to make it happen, meet every single deadline, call emergency council meetings. And so we were able to put together a financial package at every single level, whether it was the Ohio Department of Transportation coming on board, Cuyahoga County coming on board, Jobs Ohio coming on board, that was both competitive, but also fiscally responsible to make sure that we won the deal, but also always take in consideration taxpayer dollars. We got really good, and I think ongoing community experience, company feedback, but this is just the beginning. I really hope that as the company comes in, they want to be a good long-term financial partner. They look forward to working with each of you. They want to be engaged. And so I'm just really excited about this and the long-term opportunity for an underutilized asset like both Randall and Euclid Square Mall. So thank you so much.
Bill and Camille, wow, good information. It's so interesting to just hear the behind the scenes, what's going on, et cetera. And you know, the one thing that kind of stuck in my mind was just the team coming together. Imagine these cities not being self-serving, having to, you know, have different interests, certainly have city council members with maybe different interests, but the common goal was they wanted to move forward. They saw this as a big opportunity. So thank you for doing that and working together. That's an amazing stuff. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Ted Carter, and he's going to tie in the work he did with Team NEO and in putting this together as well too. Ted is the Chief Economic Development and Business Officer for Cuyahoga County. Theodore Ted Carter was appointed by Cuyahoga County Executive Armin Budish on March 15, 2016. In his role, he spearheads the county's job creation, workforce, marketing, community and economic development efforts in partnership with the private and non-private sectors. Prior to joining the county, Ted was Executive Director and CEO of the Office of Economic Development for Jacksonville, Florida. Prior to that, he was Executive Manager Director for CBRE, which we know is a global real estate company, and as a senior member of the Clinton administration. Ted served as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Management Operation and served as the first Critical Infrastructure Assurance Officer for the U.S. Department of Treasury. He's also served as Department Leader for the President's Initiative on Race. Ted Carter is a catalytic leader who is committed to public-private partnerships that are key to the growth of America's cities and communities, economically and culturally. Please join me in welcoming Ted Carter to the podium.
Had to come from all the way back there to warm up. Good afternoon. A little under the weather, so I had to do Mayor Sellers and Willis Reed come out of bed this morning with a fever. So I can't let down the mayors and not support this great project. And so if my voice cracks, battling what a lot of us are battling, flu or the bug or whatever's going around. But just wanted to come on behalf of County Executive Armin Budish and offer a perspective of how the county views this project, the very surgical but leveraged role we played in it, and share some thoughts on how you can engage us and the company going forward. All of you are business owners, and so the question in your mind is, how do I benefit from this directly? And so that is an important question that we want to be able to help engage you on and help you succeed in doing that. So as mentioned, so I did move here from Jacksonville, Florida, warm weather and water, but it has been, this is my 2-year anniversary today, and it has been a terrific ride, and the move was worth it, experiencing a project like this that is really generational. And so the enthusiasm you hear here is not false. This is really what people like Bill and I and these mayors live for, is to be able to deliver a project like this to the community. And so I have 6 pages of notes, so I'm going to call an audible and try to feather in the comments that I would make to support what's already been said, so I'm not redundant. Excuse me. But having been in this business for 20 years, this is one of the most exciting projects I've ever seen, and a lot of it's already been said, because it represents the best of this community, the public sector leadership that was required to make this happen. When companies evaluate a community, they really look at what's the leadership team, are they committed in word and deed? So you've heard how that was illustrated. The teamwork that represented here, and just the persistence and the indomitable spirit to say, we will win this deal. So success. So this table really deserves a big round of applause, but not only, not only the work they've put in to date, but from my standpoint, the work's just beginning, because these projects don't lift off by themselves. The good news, Amazon's a very aggressive company. When I was in Jacksonville, I was on the front end of a similar project like this that was also put in a community like North Randall and Euclid. And so Jacksonville's a year ahead of us, and so hope to learn from what they've gone through. But what I've heard is that they're serious about hiring. So they're going to do what they said they're going to do, but you've got to engage them. And so that's really the next step for the leadership team to do effectively. But there's a lot going on here just locally. So I'm going to, in a second, get to some of the other projects. So the role of the County Economic Development Office is we support 59 communities. Most people say, well, it's just Cleveland. No. We do projects across the 59 communities in terms of access to capital provision for small businesses. Our demolition fund has done taken down blighted structures across the county. We have a small business infrastructure that provides technical assistance to small businesses. Increasingly, as the county executive, when he was first elected a couple of years ago, the refrain he heard from businesses, from startups to mid-sized businesses, the Fortune 500 companies, was the ability to source and identify talent. And so our office traditionally has been comprised of an economic development unit, which is focused on capital provision, a community development and housing unit, which is placemaking, revitalizing neighborhoods across the county. And so we've now started up a workforce unit that is focused on workforce. So aligning the workforce system and providing incentives for companies to train their employees, excuse me. Let me talk a little bit about the structure of government. The county executive gave his remarks 2 years ago in the State of the County. He had his video, what does the county do? So traditionally, we've been known as focused on healthcare services, which is what most counties do. But when the charter was changed several years ago, the voters said that economic development should be the lead county function of the government. And so County Executive Buttigieg came in. It's always had a result of a national search and said, listen, I want to move our office from being more reactive and proactive to better support our private sector partners like Team NEO, our public sector partners represented at this table, and to deploy capital and just be more muscular and aggressive in terms of how the county positions itself to do business. So we are in the process of realizing that vision that he's articulated. We've done things internally in the new county building, put our entire office on one floor to engage more strategically and consistently with Team NEO, Greater Cleveland Partnership. And again, coming into this marketplace, this city, this team collectively competes with any city in America. And I've been in a couple of them, and I can say that candidly and directly. So people ask, well, why did you come to Ohio? Because the opportunity here is so enormous. And Amazon, this first leg, hopefully, maybe we'll have some other good news, who knows. But the statement that's already been made by Amazon, by these two facilities, we're in as good a position as anyone in the country, given that. And Bill talked about the 9 other facilities in Ohio, which a couple of Bill, I think, are data centers. So we'll see what happens with the other Amazon opportunity. Let me just give you a couple of highlights of other things that are happening in the marketplace. So I talk about leadership of this team. So these mayors are tenacious and are just very aggressive in marketing their cities. And so you take that for granted, but marketing is about brand. So we're excited about Amazon because of the brand they represent and the brand that they will represent globally to this community. And so brand it's a soft skill, but it's so important in terms of building your companies in our region. So one of the first priorities in our 5-year economic development plan is to reposition Cuyahoga County and Cleveland as a economic hub in the United States. Coming from Jacksonville 2 years ago, or 2+ years, I thought this was going to be a dead economy. So I came here on some business and really saw a vitality and energy that I wasn't anticipating. So now when people from around the country pick up the paper, read about Cleveland, Cuyahoga, Amazon, what? It just tells a different story. And so that objective that we have is underway. A couple of other things that you may not be aware of. So last year, as part of our provision of capital to businesses, so we do everything from micro lending all the way up to very sophisticated, mature Fortune 500 companies. A company that was founded here in the healthcare space called IBM Explorers, we deployed $2 million in capital. So they are the Google of healthcare data. So IBM is creating this facility at the beginning of the Opportunity Corridor. And so this company will be the headquarters of IBM's healthcare division, Watson Healthcare. So it's connected to Watson Computer. And so this is going to, again, create another brand about this community that people may not have thought about. IBM Watson Healthcare is headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, so it complements the Cleveland Clinic, and so they were a partner with the city and the county, and so that is a example of economic development, community development, and workforce all in one project. Just down the road, ABB, which is a global building automation company that is at the corner of Harvard and Green Roads, is well along. So that company, we were able to lure from Lake County 400 jobs because they liked the infrastructure, the ability to work for us, and they just felt the business environment was better here than in Lake. Lake wasn't too happy, but we're in a competitive business, and so Bill can't endorse that. So he said, "Don't say that. We're regional. We are regional, and we collaborate. But when there's an opportunity to secure a company of that magnitude, we're going to win." And so we were successful there. But again, that's not something you may have to, a global, multinational company moving a subsidiary headquarters here to Cuyahoga County. Great story. So another example that may have just flown by you last year was Plug and Play, which is a Silicon Valley accelerator, has now selected Cleveland to launch its healthcare vertical. So that is so accelerator is, you have an idea. Amazon at one point probably went through one of these, Google, some of those other startups. They have an idea, they get some technical assistance and funding, and then that allows them to raise capital. And so that is now headquartered at our Global Healthcare Innovation Center downtown. 2 years ago, before I came here, people talked about capital flying over Cleveland in the Midwest. So here's an opportunity for, again, Cleveland Clinic's involved in this as well, Silicon Valley. And so they have 13 other verticals, industry verticals. So we anticipate that once this gets established, they'll expand. So here are just examples of other brands that are coming into the marketplace, led by Amazon, but there's other good activity that the county and our partners have participated in that are changing the story and the dynamic. And so our job is not just to attract companies, our job is also to grow businesses that are here. So one of the things that we are focused on is workforce innovation. There's a service called Skill Up, which in simplest form is for each of you, you have employees who they have to have certain designations and certifications to execute your business. If you're interested in training them to improve both their wage level and get a certain certification, the county will reimburse the company for that training up to a certain level. And so if you are interested in learning more about this program, my two colleagues in the back, if you could raise your hand, see them, and they'll give them your card, and we'll make sure we follow up with this program. So in 10 months that this program was started, the county has called 2,000 businesses, and we are working with about 100 of them. Businesses from a gas station, for someone who wants to train their cashiers, up to a Fortune 500 company. So it has that range of diversity. The training we're agnostic on. You train to your people and to your industry. We just provide the capital to reimburse as long as it leads to a wage increase. So I've talked a little bit about some of the other, but moving forward, so we've been in conversations with these mayors about, okay, the deal is here. How do we start to position your businesses? And so in simplest form, what I would say, I was meeting with Mayor Smith, we were having this conversation. We're walking out to tour the city and the site, and a retailer comes in and says, "Mayor, congratulations." Now, how do I think it was a coffee company, Mayor, right? It was a coffee. So he's already thinking about, how do I sell coffee to these employees? So, right? That's about winning and growing. And so we have to be intentional about this. So we'll work with the mayors to figure out how we sit with Amazon and understand their supply chain. What are the things they're going to be buying? They have national suppliers, actually, but some of those should be local. And then, we'll get back to you with, but I would say be aggressive. Don't be shy about marketing your skill set and your value proposition of your company to me, to the mayors, to the Amazon reps. In terms of hiring, we view this as a regional opportunity, not just for the communities in which the facilities will be in, because of the sheer number, right? 3,000 employees, that's a lot. And so Camille and Bill were set up a call before Christmas, and so they're gracious enough to do that. So again, we've got to be aggressive also, not just take this for granted. With the Amazon team, and they said, hey, we know you're anxious. Wait until after the holiday till we get all our packages shipped out. So we're going to follow up and really be engaged with them about what are the skill sets they need. They've given us a bit of a preview. but it's my job and my team's job and Bill's job and Camille's job to make sure that we get them the talent that they need in the time that they need it. And so, more to come on that. But again, this is a transformational opportunity and one that we were very pleased to be a part of. I don't think I talked about what the county did, so let me end there, is that, again, the heavy lifting was done by these mayors and Team NEO. And so the county, we're big, but we have a small amount of capital for economic development. So compared to some of these other projects that we typically do, this was very, very modest. So we have invested over $500,000 between the two communities in terms of transportation, infrastructure, and road improvements. And so say, well, they're a distribution company, so they got to get their trucks in. The signalization has to be correct. So for us, this was a very, very leveraged, high value, very efficient way for us to deploy capital. And so I would say we covered the last mile, but it's a team effort. And so very, very pleased that we are going to be able to support this team moving forward. And again, I can't say enough about this public sector leadership. It's not something you see every day, and the results speak for themselves. So thank you very much. So again, if you're interested in Skill Up, please see Paul and Jordan in the back, and happy to be around to offer any other insights. If you want to come visit us as the county and connect with any of our capital programs, see one of us, and we'd be happy to either come to you or visit with you downtown. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to invite Ted and Bill to come back up for Q&A. I'd also like to invite Mayor Gail and Mayor Smith to come up as well to the panel. And this is going to be your turn, your chance to ask questions that might be relevant to you or your community. I'm also going to, where did Camille go? Okay, when she comes back, any questions for her as well too would be great, and we'll have her fill up. Go ahead and have a seat. And we'll bring this microphone back up. Now, we don't have a wireless mic out in the audience. I apologize. So you're going to actually have to stand up, shout your questions out, or at least send it through a note to somebody, or come whisper it in my ear, whatever you want to do to get the question asked. All right. And Steve, if you can act as timekeeper, because I have no idea where we are from that standpoint. So I'm going to, unfortunately, take the liberty of asking the first question, because I see a lot of smiles up here, but I certainly see two very wide smiles up here. So I want to ask both Mayor Gail and Mayor Smith to just let us know, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Happy New Year. Happy 2008, right? Okay.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. What an honor to be here with you today. Thank you to the Warrensville Area Chamber of Commerce for including Euclid in this. We're thrilled. I mean, I've been mayor, just finished my second year, so I'm new as a mayor. I have a great staff. Our development director, Jonathan Holliday, is here. But as a community, Euclid is a first-ring suburb, similar to Warrensville and North Randall, and experiencing some changes in the community. And so Euclid Square Mall has been probably one of the biggest issues as you go out in the community, as you meet with businesses. What's happening at the mall? It used to be Chase Brass, large manufacturing industrial site. Then it was a mall, and it was a mall in my lifetime. It was built, I think it opened in the 70s, and everybody grew up in New Euclid Mall. Well, we had to make the decision to actually close it, which I think in hindsight was probably a great decision, because it really put some urgency to the owners to actually sell it. They were interested in selling. We had met with them. We had met with brokers, but it made the site available. So what a great, I think it solves a number of things in the city of Euclid. It shows, got rid of a huge blighting influence, but it also brings new jobs, new investment into a city that's really looking to redefine itself as a growing, thriving, first-ring suburb. It allowed us a great opportunity to say, look, who's moving to our city. So we're thrilled, and it couldn't be a better New Year's present.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I want to recognize a few of the people that came with me. Councilwoman Iris Cheers, Councilwoman Lynn Diggs, Council President Woody Marcus, Fire Chief Marshall Shorts, Police Chief Ronald Mosley, and our Fiscal Officer Andrea Morris. But I want to really point out, before I start, my shero. My shero in this project, if she would please stand up. Camille Billups, can you just stand? Just stand up. This is my shero. You know, we do a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting, but we couldn't get these projects done if it weren't for those people that are behind the scenes. I have a little bit more history than my counterpart here. 2003 was when the lights went out across the United States of America. That was my first day on the job. 2005, we were unfortunate, but fortunate enough that I was supplying the facility with toiletries. That's how significant this has been for us. I've never told this story before, but I always would say when we were counted out, and I don't want to give a sob story because it's a good ending, they counted us out. They said that we should cease to exist. So I took that and I said, you know what? Adversity builds character. And I told everybody that I ran into that we were the sleeping giant. And lo and behold, we kept our integrity. We learned on the job. Ben, who's just newly elected for Woodmere, Mayor Sellers knows the story. Mayor Berger knows the story. And this is the superintendent, Mr. Jolly, for the Warrensville Heights City Schools. You want to just raise your hand? He helped us. We got the abatement done. But the answer to your question, I guess you can probably tell that I'm very excited. This is probably the most attention that we've ever had in my lifetime. And we are just, you know, it's just a great day. I love coming to work. I used to hide from the news media. I don't hide from the news media anymore. I can talk forever and ever, but it is awesome. Just to put it plainly, it's an awesome experience.